So now let's move to our keynote of the day, which is Web3. And let me introduce you to our keynote speaker, Frédéric Montagnon. Frédéric is a Web3 pioneer. I think we can say that because he's been involved in the field of cryptocurrency as an investor since 2013. Frédéric is also a serial entrepreneur and investor with more than 20 years of experience. He's founded, run, and exited 4 companies for a total value of more than $400 million. His latest venture, Arianee, is a Web3 NFT platform focused on the luxury and fashion industry. And they've raised recently 20 million euros in Series A, led by US investment firm Tiger Global. So Frédéric, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for this warm introduction.
Yes. So, and thank you for being here with us today. So everyone's talking about Web3, but all like new concepts, there are several definitions around. And so I'll be really interested if you could share with us your definition of Web3. What is it?
Yeah, of course, there is no, at that stage, there is no real definition of Web3 for many reasons. And one is, there are so much news about incredible price of NFT trading or about cryptocurrency. There are so much news that are just in the front page talking about the crash of cryptocurrency that we totally forget what is the basics and the core values and the core reason for this market to exist. So first of all, I think from my perspective that the Web3 has begun with the launch of Bitcoin. And by the way, I met the first communities working about around this cryptocurrency almost 10 years ago. The reason why I'm mentioning that is I'm an engineer, I'm not a financial guy. And what really caught my attention at that time was that those communities were trying to build a distributed governance for an information system. And I think that this is the best way to define what Web3 is about. It's about trying to transform certain level and certain layers of the internet into a common property. So it's about regaining control over the infrastructure as a user and regaining control over our own data. So it's probably not a definition, but I would say that Web3 is, first of all, even before being a technology or a set of architecture, it's a movement. And it's a movement of people who are trying to redesign the really low level of the internet layers and make it available for everyone and governed by the users themselves. And of course, we cannot not think about how the internet works today. We have very few platforms as users that are governing and ruling the internet. And this movement try to rebalance how the internet works and make sure that really we regain control over what you use on a daily basis.
And what was the spark almost 10 years ago when you thought, well, I think this is going to be big or this is going to have a massive impact? What was the spark for you that inspired you to to invest more time and resources in that movement?
So I think that the reason why I was really interested into what they were building is because my former businesses were totally dependent on Google and Facebook strategy and architectures. So I spent probably 10 years as an entrepreneur trying to build systems and building systems. But every time that we reached a certain level, a certain size, we were forced to adjust our strategy depending Facebook or Google strategy. And I see the platformization of the internet as a real limitation in terms of innovation, in terms of freedom. So there are many problems around data, that data leaking. So we all know that what are the bad side of having centralized and hyper centralized platform with a lot of data centralized on just one database. And I saw people who were trying to fix this problem. And for me, it's probably the more important problem that we have today in our digital environments. And I saw that if the future of the internet is only 2 or 3 platforms defining the rules, defining the business model, and who can choose what kind of partner they accept, how they filter the content. So it's just the opposite of the internet as it was designed at the beginning. The very first step of the internet were a set of protocol, open source protocol, and the idea, and probably one of the key factors of success of the internet was it's an open network. So you can join the network just plugging a new device and you just be a part of the internet. But after a few years, we see that the platformization of the web has just reversed the spirit of the internet. So definitely, I was seeing how Bitcoin was designed and coded. For me, was one solution of a new era for the internet, an era where we regain control over innovation.
Okay, and so as you said, actually Web3 is quite a departure from today's Web2, where the model today is participants give their data in exchange of being matched with another party to enable them to connect and ultimately transact. So in this new world, what will need to happen for the Web3 vision to be realized? You know, what are the missing blocks today that need to be developed?
So yeah, you're right. The architecture of the internet today is some platforms with centralized database, and all the calculation, all the computation happens onto those databases. From a technical perspective, that is probably the easiest way to manage information and to make sure that you can provide to the user a service, just because it's easy actually to centralize everything, to have in one place all the data, all the software that you need to run a service. And there are all the limits we just mentioned. In this new paradigm, the idea is to make sure that every single user has somewhere his own data. And every time he has to transact with someone, every time he has to make a connection to someone or to a service, he decides if he wants to plug his data and to reveal part of the data and with who and with which condition. So what we need today is I think 2 things. So first of all is a place to store those data on the user side. It is what we call wallets. A wallet is your private key controlling your digital assets. Today we see a lot of progress in this area, but still it's a little bit complicated for the user to understand how to create a wallet, how to store private keys, and this is probably one of the main opportunity for entrepreneurs to build wallets that fill some needs. So we have now really sophisticated wallets when it comes to storing value and to trading assets. Now we need to have other kind of wallets to be able to store new set of data. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we need to have data, and we need to have services and probably brands issuing NFTs as data, because in the Web3 era, the data is NFT. At the end of the day, you can. I know that NFTs are for most of the people are just JPEGs and images sold on the marketplace, but that's just one application for NFT. Yeah. NFT is first of all digital components that is unique, that can have a serial number, that can contain some information that are just unique. It's data. It can be your age, it can be your ID, it can be the proof of ownership of something, it can be a proof of attendance. We can definitely add for this session an NFT that just represents the fact that today I attended to this session. So all these data can be represented as NFTs instead of being a line into an entry into the database. So we need to have wallets, and we need to have more and more businesses and services that use NFTs as a way to issue data and to share that data with a user. So these are the two main areas where we see now a lot of innovation and big progress. So it's basically, and we can summarize maybe saying that in the Web3 paradigm, your social graph is represented by NFTs. Perhaps we can take an example today. If I see how I use the internet as a medium to publish content, I can use Instagram, Facebook, Snap, or Twitter. On all these different platforms, I spent a lot of time as a brand and as a user building my connection to other users. But this social graph, my connection, doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the platform. And this is not something that you can extract from the platform and use anywhere else. So in the Web3 paradigm, your social graph are just connections that are represented as NFTs that you can create, share with other users. But if you want to use this social graph into different services, different paradigm, you can do it because it is your data. So this is what we mean by saying regaining control over your data. It's not just information that defines you as a human being and kind of information that today are stored into cookies or database, but it's also all the social interaction, all your social graph, interest graph that you will be able to use as you want and to redesign as you want. Today you have absolutely no possibility to suppress some data. You don't know how, at the end of the day, how your data and how your social graph is used by your platform. In a very near future, in the Web3, you will be able to control everything.
Okay, so that's it. Very interesting. So, so in this new decentralized world where we're shifting from a kind of winner takes most paradigm to winner shares most, what are the implications for the traditional companies? So, companies who are not platforms, how can they, harness the emergence of new Web3 models?
Of course. So today, if you are a brand, you are not a core component on the internet most of the time. So you're just at the periphery of some platforms, and you pay those platforms to have a connection with a customer, with a user. And even if it's already a customer, you will have to pay again and again to be able to reach this customer. Plus, the platform, which is the middleman, will have the choice to redesign the rules all the time and to filter some information, to rank the information on just another algorithm. So you're not in possession and you are not in control on the relation and the connection you have with your own customer. For those brands, those companies, the opportunity is to have a direct link, a direct connection to customer with no middleman. So it's basically digital sovereignty that we are talking about. It's just building on the internet something that just belongs to you and where you will not have anyone as a middleman interacting with your people. So this is the opportunity. Same thing for service providers. Today, you are a service provider, will probably rely on some existing platform to build on top of this. And you will have to comply, you will have to rely on two existing rules. And of course, the platform will not allow you to do whatever you want. So one more time, you will be limited in terms of interaction, limited in terms of innovation. And at the end of the day, it's, of course, an unfair market when you have platforms that just control everything. So for both brands and for service providers, the opportunity is to regain control over this connection and to make sure that you build something that belongs to you.
Okay, so that's great. So we have only a few minutes left, and I've got three questions to ask you. So, so what you said was really interesting. So, could you perhaps give us an example of new business models emerging? I'm thinking about Arianee, basically, the NFT connecting consumers with products. How does that work, and how did you get the idea, and why the name Arianee?
So Arianee comes from Ariadne in the in Greek mythology. It's the link that you can create that can be here forever, and that it's a connection that you build with someone that will last. The vision we have is we want to help brands and service providers to issue NFTs, to put those NFTs into the hand of their users and to interact with those NFTs. So it's a set of open source protocol that we designed. It's everything that a brand needs to enter the Web3 era. Today we work mainly with brands. We started with hard luxury, then luxury, fashion, and now really mainstream brands. And the first use case that what we designed was how to represent a real asset that a brand can create and sell, or how to represent a membership to a community. And with the ability to issue NFT, you just connect at the end of the day the real asset you build, you create, you sell, or the experiences, the services that you provide to your consumer, and you represent the ownership of this asset or this service by an NFT, and you make sure that you will have a connection, permanent connection with your customer, and you can leverage this connection to create new services that are 100% connected, digital, which is something that doesn't exist at the end of the day for most of the brands. Let's say you sell a bag, so a bag will not be connected by design and by structure to the internet. With an NFT, you create what we call a digital twin, a digital passport, that is by nature connected to the internet. So it's a way to recreate a connection, but it's also open the opportunity and the doors to many innovation. So there is plenty of use cases we can talk about. So this is what we do, and at the end of the day, the reason why brands are joining this movement, are using such a protocol such as Arianee, is because they understood that there is a first player advantage to be one of the first brands to issue a lot of NFTs to recreate all this connection at first.
Yes, so yeah, absolutely. And you have, some leading brands already on the platform. So thank you so much for your insights. I think there's a lot more questions I had in store, and we have also a very interesting question that came on the chat. Frédéric, if you want to answer it perhaps afterwards. But just to finish, if you had to encapsulate your vision in a few words and complete the sentence, the future of platforms will be, what would it be?
Outdated. And decentralized, by the way. So it's okay. More outdated is a little bit strong, but decentralized for sure. That solves the problem of ownership, that solves the problem of digital sovereignty, that solves problem of risk in terms of security, of compliance. So I don't see any bad side of just decentralizing the way the data are stored today on the internet.
Okay, so thank you so much, Frédéric. We've got a question on communities from Peter, so I'll let it reply directly to Peter and the community. Thank you so much for your insights and your passion. I hope your vision will inspire many entrepreneurs to experiment, follow their decentralized mission.
Yeah, everyone needs to use it. So don't read that much content about what it's supposed to do. Just play with it and experience yourself. It's very important.
Thank you so much, Frédéric. Thank you.